My name is Mark Scullion, as Niall has said. I was a guinea pig. I've implemented Maximizer CRM into our own company about 18 months ago. I suppose the process started actually before that, about a year before that again. We had been looking to develop as a company into different product sectors. We'd been looking at the way the company, the market and everything was going, expectations of customers, and generally how we managed our business overall. So it actually started for about a year before that, and I'd been going into looking at CRM systems. I suppose it's been a buzzword over the last number of years on how companies will go to look to improve their business. And I'll give you a bit of history about the company. The company started off as a UCS, as a manufacturing company, manufacture windows, doors, conservatories, and supply that to generally the building industry, specialist installers. And that was done from Donegal right down to sort of Dublin across to Limerick would probably our reaches on a trade aspect. As the building industry crashed, sort of 2006-07, we thought about how do we change our strategy, how do we look at doing different things, how do we adapt in the business that we're in to survive. Funny, I was chatting to Gary in the back there. In 2006, there were 10 conservatory manufacturing companies in Northern Ireland. Today there's only one, and that's us as a company. So it just how we've adapted and reacted to the marketplace, I feel, has left us in a good position and is stronger than other companies that maybe didn't. So about 3 years ago, in that change, we decided to set up a separate company called Total Home Improvements. And that was based as a retail company, so UCS as a customer, basically supplied them as a customer, and as a company, that company went out to people's homes directly and installed the products that were manufactured throughout the company. So it was a bit of vertical integration in the sales line. It gave us guaranteed cash flows with regards to reduced our bad debt that our trade customers that were going to be buying. So it allowed us to reduce our risk from a trade aspect, saying, well, actually, we've got a steady work stream coming in from this business, and it allowed us to be a bit pickier with our customers, saying, oh, okay, we're not taking you all on. Actually, we're going to take on this certain customer base on this certain credit terms based on that end. So over that, for the first 12 months, it was a completely different aspect to the company, so we really had to sit down and think, how are we going to manage that? Because it's a different workflow dealing with trade customers or business customers on a day-to-day, as opposed to dealing with the homeowner and lots of small one-off contracts, as opposed to repeat customers coming in. So we had our day-to-day business to look at, and then we had this new business that we wanted to grow and develop over a period of time. So that's that just gives us our turnover the first 5 or 6 years. The departments within UCS, again, same sort of thing, what we had: order processing, order tracking, delivery scheduling, quotations. Our trade sales, sort of customer databases, lists, marketing, manufacturing, production planning, and accounts, which is our account system. So we had lots of different things, and as the company grew from a few employees to, well, there's maybe probably 50 employees now if you're classifying subcontractors. But we've all started off, and I don't know, some of you might be from what I call one-person companies right up to large national companies. But you usually find that, and I was probably as guilty as most, you start off with one, you look and identify one wee thing. So, oh, there's a wee Excel sheet and we'll do that, and then we'll do another wee system, and then we'll look at that. So as the company has developed over the years, basically with different processes, you're very much into, right, we'll sort that individual thing out. Like our accountant loves Excel sheets. That's my pet hate, Excel sheets, because there's so much abuse. Somebody goes in and deletes something, somebody does something else. It's a disaster unless it's managed properly, and things like that. Whereas I would have been more of a preference to access and databases whenever I was developing that end. So basically, that's our free resources, as we say, as I went down through. I'm sort of a bit of a computer buff, to sort of my own detriment sometimes. Not right, Clive? On that end, and basically I had developed a couple of access systems to try and incorporate. Beforehand we used to have an order system, and we got an order, we took out a new order number, and we had and our manufacturing software didn't integrate with anything else. So we had a trade counter which ran through Sage, and we had a manufacturing system for conservatories, we had a manufacturing system for windows, and everything was sprawled all over the place. So basically our first attempt was setting up an access system to at least network, to give people a sort of funnel to at least access the information on. Was probably fine as a UCS with limited, because it was just repeat business and there wasn't that much data that was actually going in to be retained. But whenever we went into total home improvements, so we had 100 of a database of trade customers to deal with, then has turned out to thousands of opportunities and prospects to go along with. So it was a completely different data scale to try and deal with. So when we started THI for short, basically we had 2 or 3 different things that started putting in. The reason why I looked at CRM is we had telesales. As a development, the sales manager come in, the company that he worked with before did a similar line, but basically their business was telesales, and what we did was exactly the same. There's a list. Can you ring those people tonight? And there's another list, and then there's another list, and there's another list, and basically it was all manual, handed out. People were on the phone and ringing, and there was no structure, no organisation, what you were going to target, different things like that. It was sort of a bit of organised mess and mayhem. That was probably the easiest way of describing it. And then our telesales manager, who looks after that department, basically, he had a full-time administrator, basically taken. So whenever as I would call, we now call it suspects and prospects. Beforehand it was just general leads, but the suspects are all the cold calling as we develop on that end. Now they had an Excel sheet which they typed in. He actually duplicated the data 5 times from when the first initial call come in to booking it onto the appointments for the sales guys. So the amount of errors and stuff that had came about. So we had 2 or 3 telesales, and we had 2 or 3 reps, and we were trying to build that up to try and develop the business as well. So again, he typed it into an Excel sheet. Then whenever it became a opportunity, it was put into Access. Then he typed it into the Microsoft Access or Exchange calendars, and then that populated their phones. And then he had to type it into a texting service. That was an online texting service, which is our last bit of integration. Hopefully we'll be getting developed in January. And that is basically, over the last 18 months, we looked at it. Well, I looked at it 2 things. I suppose a level of paranoia, data security. I suppose the other thing was trying to keep yourself compliant with TPS and everything else that goes along, data protection. There were so many other things, so many things as we were developing you knew weren't been 100% correct, and how do you try and manage all that data and people's personal details in computer systems. I had a phone call about 9 months ago from a competitor, an ex-employee of a competitor offering their database of leads because how they did it was on an Excel sheet. He already had sold half the data to another company, which he told me about, and I just goes, absolutely no way, I'm not interested. It was one of the things when I first spoke to Niall, because there's such, especially in a telesales environment, there's such a turnover of staff. You know, they'll be there for 6 months, they want to go and do something else. They might want to move into a different field. Somebody else offers them 50p an hour more, and they go on to that there. So the easiest thing to do is just take that data and go and sell that data on elsewhere. They don't think of the consequences, because the only thing that they think about is, oh geez, that's a couple of £100 for me. Again, it was one of those problems that I had thought about, and it says, right, well, it's one of the things I'm going to be doing is making sure that, so the only one that can export data, I know it was shown there earlier on, is me and the accountant. That is basically it. So it's one of the things that I like about it is the security and what way it can be tied down, basically in that end. Data corruption, I suppose the other things that basically people typing in the same data from one system to another, and I mean as in basically the wrong address, the wrong postcode, the number of times the sales guys went to wrong addresses and wrong house and then couldn't get a hold of the person, and they were sitting 6 doors down or 2 streets down as a salesperson, and it was frustrating, and they're giving out an absolute stink because they've spent 2 hours driving around somewhere in South Armagh with no phone reception and no detail to somewhere to try and find stuff. That's been pretty much eliminated. It happens from time to time, but again, to get it totally perfect, I wouldn't say, putting things like this in, it's only as good as the people that are there, but if you can cut down the number of chances that can make mistakes, all the better for it. Basically, management of the sales team becoming more self-sufficient has been a massive, massive improvement for us. Basically, I suppose I'll give you the suspect for telesales. Basically, there's tens of thousands of records in there, and the only people that see those records are actually what I would call the cold marketing department. So they see all that information, that's where they do it. It only gets released into the sales team whenever it becomes a prospect, as in basically they've shown an interest and they're going to tie it in that way. Or other types of marketing, like from shopping centres or things like that there, they automatically go in, and then the guys then book in appointments for that sales team, which whenever it becomes an appointment that is actually they're going out to do a visit, that becomes an opportunity. And from those opportunities, it's broke down to the opportunity leader. I suppose probably a few of the tweaks that we blipped on the first time is we put them into account manager instead of opportunity, but because we have different products, so like there'll be one salesperson who'll look after windows and doors, there's another look after conservatories, there's another, we do renewables, solars and stuff now, so that one person, we're finding a replication of customers or previous customers coming back, so we've had to go back and change the way that we do things. And again, that's a learning curve, and we're still learning every day on that end. But funny, I spoke to one of the guys in the telesales team last night, mentioning about this today, and there's 2 of them. One was post CRM Maximizer, who knew of nothing different, and another guy who was working on the lists and going, oh, such a difference. And actually he then got promoted and he's in the sales team now. So he understands the whole process from generating to being out in the cold end. Definitely for them to be able to follow their own opportunities, work tasks, which you'll hear about, or hot list tasks. I mean, there's certain things if they don't do, they have to call somebody back at the end of the week to get a decision. They have to do a quote, they have to post out by the end of the week. They have to do their own debriefs as they finish every day. It was one of the pains that we had experienced. We had a really, really wide range of ability. Was probably, I don't know if most will experience it, like whenever we introduced it to the sales guys and we give them a laptop each, one of the guys who sat down in the training room and he goes, "How do you turn it on?" You know, with no exaggeration. At the end of the training session he asked then, "How do you turn it off?" So to other guys, whether they were younger or older, that absolutely, you didn't even have to show them, because the Maximizer is pretty much set out in a format that you could, within a day or two, you could fumble away around it without really any serious training to be able to manage and know exactly address book level and what's generally there. So for them doing that, he said himself he's probably got about 15 contracts that himself over the last year that he wouldn't have got because he wouldn't have really followed it up with the same level of enthusiasm that the sales manager sees all his tasks of what he has to do by the week. So he's not micromanaging him to a degree, but he is on his case to know that he's actually doing that. And if he's not doing those sorts of things, so he's gone out and done a call and there's absolutely no feedback, he doesn't have to do a quote, or he doesn't have to ring back and get a decision, or he hasn't got the sale. Like as I say, you either make a decision, you either don't have the sale and you've lost it to somebody else, so you've made a decision anyway, or you've got the business. So there's different things that we put in on the debrief. They also have to go on. We offer finance and things like that. So as they come out of each call, they have to say, "Oh, we offered this finance deal, or we've done this deal, or we've done a 6-month offer or a 3-month offer." So whenever they're going back, they know exactly in a week's time or 3 months' time, whenever if that customer rings them back and they're going into the database, it helps them jar their memory of what they've actually discussed with the customer or potential customer. Researching the system, I suppose whenever I first of all started in CRM a year before going with Maximizer, it was, where do you start? Everybody loves doing their own research no matter what it's for. I spoke to about, there's a couple of suppliers, Eppin Group, they're a PLC, they supply us all our extrusion, and they have on 3 occasions tried to implement CRM system into their customer service and sales staff, and have failed on 3 occasions to get it properly implemented. They did Salesforce, I should mention that bad word for whatever, but it was quite complicated and cumbersome. You know, all those ones I have looked at, Sage Act workbooks, Microsoft Dynamics, Sugar CRM, Salesforce, Zoho, and the thing I liked about choosing a CRM, I just went through and made a wee list. I suppose with me was flexibility going forward. Whenever we first looked at it, we were only going to do it for our telesales staff, so that was 6 licenses that we were going to put on, and that's all it was going to be. And then we were going to keep it with our sales staff just the way it was. And within the very, even during our an analysis process, whenever we were looking at it, we're thinking, well, we can't have just our telesales marketing department on it and not have our sales staff. So we looked at that, and then we were, so that went along. So we now then integrated our sales manager and our sales staff on it. And again, thought, right, that's absolutely fantastic. And then as we went along and we got that integrated, very soon afterwards we go, this actually is not a bad wee system. And we've started to integrate it on workflow through the whole company. So they now have 22, 23 users on the system, and it actually works from the telesales department that runs through there, through sales department, sales manager, and customer service. And the customer service is probably a big benefit that we hadn't thought of at the initial, but whenever we did the analysis, we thought, right, that was it. And so it was just purely focused on the total home aspect of the company, but is now integrated into UCS. The flexibility, we've opened up a depot in Dublin that uses all the same system. Everybody's interlinked. The category, they're all broke down into each individual company. We've introduced renewables as well. So it's all in, everything's gone into one system and then split off. So each person responsible for each department sees their own thing. So there's so much searches and flexibility in that I found with this, which was good. I suppose the other couple of companies, out of 5 companies that introduced CRM, and that's probably the horror stories that I looked at and think, am I making the right choice? 4 of them failed. They had CRM systems and nobody used them. And that was one of the things, and I goes, right, I don't want to be a statistic here. I don't want to be 6 out of 6 companies and then only still 1 doing it. So how do I get to introduce it right? And then did I make the right choice? Was it worthwhile? How long have I got on that end? As I would say, to do it again, choosing CRM, planning. Definitely proper systems analysis of what you've got at the minute, because you want to duplicate at least what you currently have, that they're not left out going, oh, I didn't have that beforehand. And that is one of the really good things. I mean, from when we started probably 18 months ago to the number of custom fields, which you'll probably find really easy to add on at whatever level you want to put in. So like the CRM system, we now use it for our MCS standards for renewables, where you have to actually put in serial numbers of products to make sure that that standard then's tied in. So that was easy enough for us just to go in. It's added in, it's kept in, so it keeps us compliant without even too much extra workload that we've already been doing. So there's things like that. Getting people on board. I brought all the managers in at the start and sort of half explained the benefits and the benefits to each particular person, so that the sales manager, this is his benefit. For the tele sales manager, this is the benefit, so that they see the benefit. So they're pushing really, really hard to make sure that it works. One example of it was the guy that does all the order processing. I went down and we had been running the CRM for all the total home side, and we were just integrating it into the UCS, the trade side. And they were still using the old database. It would run about 4 months before we integrated into the rest. We staged our implementation to try and sort of calm down fix the bugs as they went along. And he just threw whatever piece of paper it was up in the air. I'm fed up with this. It's absolutely, geez, not another thing to type into. And he goes, I've even more stuff to type in. Do you not think I have enough to do? So after he took the initial shock factor out of it and he sat down and went through it, 1 week later he came back and goes, do you know, this isn't a bad system. It's absolutely great. He said, I can actually see what's going on now. So that was within 1 week of him using it. And he was pretty IT proficient, so there was very little training required. We've done a couple of different things on the workshop. So we know actually for production levels now, so the guy in Dublin, at the depot in Dublin, is waiting on a dispatch of goods for his customers. He's on the same system. He sees, has the manufacturing to the floor, is it finished? Is it sitting in whatever bay it's going to be? What day it's due down to him? There's so many benefits that are unforeseen for us 6 months ago to what they are now, especially on remote stuff that he's there on that are a massive benefit. Our contracts, everything's sort of integrated in. So it's definitely, they're one of the things of putting the effort in to get it right. The other people I've spoke to, and still went back and spoke to a few companies there recently that did something at the same time of us, did it and failed. Actually, there was one other success story. I didn't even ask them what CRM package they did use. But it wasn't down to the package. This one, the flexibility is fantastic with regards to that, and that's what I do like about it. It does have restrictions, and that, oh, we used to be able to do it this way, and we can't do that anymore. Sometimes you just have to live with the words that's in that end if you get something else. But again, try and replicate what they have as a short to medium term, that it's not overly difficult. I mean, some of the reps use the tablet or mobile version because it's very much tablet. It's all really simplified down, whereas the ones in the office all use either the web or actually the guys, there was one rep in particular who couldn't switch the laptop on for 6 months. He did the tablet and on his phone, and he now has gone on to the web-based version. So it's just over a period of time that he's just taken that wee bit more confidence, wee bit more training, slow and easy, instead of ram stam, look, this is what you have to have. And the platforms, there's 2 or 3 different platforms on it that allow that level of flexibility, and hopefully put in the same thing. And that's it. Generally, I suppose we've seen there's been a lot of hard work in it, hassles in it. Probably if I had to do it all again, it'd definitely be a bit more organised. But then with most companies running their own business, you're trying to do this while you run your business. And you think, well, this isn't my business. Actually, long term, it's my business. It was a long-term investment for us. We feel it's been pretty successful. We're probably only in the 3rd rung of the ladder. A lot of things that were discussed there now were things that we wanted to integrate this year. Like, for example, as the data has gone in, it's probably a year of consistent data. We're able to get the information out now. So things like our opportunities and where we've won, like we were discussing the other day with myself and sales manager. What postcode do we win all our business in? You know, what postcodes do we try and win business and never succeed? Things like that there that you just tend to beat your head against a brick wall on. There's other things there that we've been successful in and we don't push enough at, or where the opportunities are that we can do better at. So there's things like that there that we've been able to sort of quickly or crudely identify, but they're the things that we want to integrate this year going forward, and that's basically it.